Welcome to Live Without Limits, Unlock Your Potential, Ultimate Blueprint to Shift Your Mindset, where we explore the complexities of the human mind and behavior. I'm Davida Shinsky, and today we're diving into one of the most crucial yet often overlooked pillars of healthy relationships: emotional safety. Whether it's your partner, family, or even close friends, emotional safety can make or break the depth and strength of your connections. So, today we're diving into Safe Haven, the role of emotional safety in building strong relationships. So, what is emotional safety? Well, it's exactly is emotional safety. Emotional safety is that feeling of being completely secure in a relationship, secure enough to express your thoughts, feelings, even your vulnerabilities without fear of being judged, ridiculed, or rejected. It's the foundation that allows you to be your authentic self. Imagine being in the space where you don't have a sec to second guess your words or actions, where you feel seen, heard, and valued. That's emotional safety. It's not just about avoiding conflicts or negative interactions. It's about creating an environment where trust, respect, and acceptance thrive. Here's the thing: emotional safety doesn't mean that it its disagreements or mistakes won't happen, which is true because based on our personalities, no relationship is perfect. You're always going to have ups and downs. You're always going to have arguments. It's how you work through those things and how you are committed to that relationship. But it does mean that disagreements happen in a way that respects each other's feelings and creates room for resolution, not resentment. Here are some examples of what emotional safety in a relationship: expressing vulnerabilities without fear of judgment. You'll have a tough day at work and feel overwhelmed. Instead of keeping it bottled up, you share your feelings with your partner. They listen attentively, acknowledge your struggles, and offer support without dismissing your emotions or giving unsolicited advice. Feeling seen, heard, and valued. During a family gathering, your voice, your opinion, which is different from everyone else's, instead of being shut down or ridiculed. Your family members ask questions to understand your perspective and respect your point of view. Handling disagreements with respect. In a disagreement with a close friend, instead of shouting or being dismissive, both of you calmly explain your viewpoints, even if you don't fully agree. You both validate each other's feelings and work towards a compromise, encouraging authenticity. In your relationship, you feel comfortable being yourself, whether that means sharing your quirky habits, discussing personal dreams, or admitting to fears. You don't feel pressured to act differently or pretend to be someone you're not, creating space for honest feedback. You bring up a sensitive topic like wanting some personal time in your relationship. Your partner doesn't react defensively, but instead thanks you for being honest and asks how they can support you in finding balance. Making mistakes without fear of rejection. You forget an important date or make a mistake in a shared project instead of being shamed or guilted. The other person approaches the issue with understanding, saying, I'm okay. Let's work on how we can avoid this next time. These examples illustrate how emotional safety creates an environment of trust and understanding, even in challenging moments. It's about knowing how the other person has your back and values your emotions, even when things get tough. Dive deep into the concept of emotional safety, feeling secure, or express oneself without fear of judgment or rejection, creating an environment of understanding and empathy. Signs of emotional safety in relationships. Contrast what relationships lacking emotional safety. Why emotional safety matters. Now that we've defined emotional safety, let's talk about how it impacts our mental health and well being, strengthening communication and problem solving, and even helps prevent conflicts while building resilience in our relationships. Emotional safety isn't just a nice to have, it's essential for thriving both individually and in our connections with others. First, let's dive into the mental health side of things. When we feel emotionally safe in our relationships, we experience less stress and anxiety. Think about it. When you know that you can openly express your thoughts and emotions without fear of criticism or rejection, you feel lighter and more at peace. On the other hand, relationships that lack emotional safety can contribute to feelings of isolation, self doubt, and even depression. This is because we constantly on edge, second guessing ourselves and suppressing our emotions, which can take a significant toll on our mental well being. Imagine a workplace where your manager is supportive and encourages open dialogue, where you make a mistake, they address it constructively instead of criticizing you harshly. This environment not only boosts your confidence, but also reduces the mental burden of fear and stress. Next, let's talk about the communication. Emotional safety creates an open space where people feel comfortable sharing their thoughts, even when discussing difficult topics. This openness leads to hotter, a better communication, and in turn, more effective problem solving when both patients, or rather, let's say it this way, when both parties know they won't be judged or ridiculed, they're more likely to approach challenges collaboratively rather than defensively. Emotional safety also helps people listen more actively and empathetically, which is key to resolving issues and understanding each other's perspectives. Picture a couple who disagrees about how to spend their weekend. Instead of arguing, they calmly share their preferences and reasons because both feel heard and respected. They work together to find a compromise that works for both of them. This is a perfect example of emotional safety and strengthening problem solving. So, how do you foster emotional safety in a relationship? Emotional safety also plays a huge role in preventing conflicts from escalating. When people trust each other and feel secure, they're less likely to respond with anger or defensiveness during disagreements. Instead, they approach conflicts with the mindset of collaboration, not competition. Additionally, emotional safety builds resilience in relationships. Knowing that you can navigate difficult situations together creates a sense of security and strengthens the bond over time. Take a friendship where one person forgets the other's birthday. Instead of holding a grudge, the friend who feels hurt shares their feelings. Honesty, and the other apologizes without getting defensive. The exchange not only resolves the immediate issue, but also deepens the trust between them. Let's back this up with some research. Studies have shown that emotional safety is a crucial factor in relationship satisfaction and stability, according to research published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships. Couples who report high levels of emotional safety are more likely to experience long term relationships success. Additionally, research from Gottman Institute highlights that emotional safety is one of the key predictors of relationship happiness. It fosters healthy conflict resolution and helps couples build what Dr. John Gottman calls a sound relationship house. In the workplace, Harvard Business Review reports that teams with high emotional safety, often referred to as psychological safety, have more innovative and productive. When team members feel safe to express their ideas without fear and judgment, they collaborate more effectively and deliver better results. To sum up emotional safety, it's like the glue that holds relationships together. It nurtures mental well being, strengthens communication and problem solving, prevents necessary conflicts, and builds the resilience needed to face challenges together. As we wrap up, let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've discussed about emotional safety and why it's so vital for maintaining healthy, fulfilling relationships. Emotional safety is the foundation of trust, connections, and intimacy in any relationship. Allows us to have our true selves, share our vulnerabilities, and navigate challenges together with respect and understanding. When emotional safety is present, relationships thrive. People communicate more openly, resolve conflicts constructively, and feel more deeply connected. On the other hand, whether it's missing relationships that become distant, tense, or even toxic, we're also explored practical ways to build emotional safety through active listening, honoring boundaries, expressing vulnerability, and building trust over time. And even when emotional safety is challenged, there are steps that we can take to repair and strengthen it. Now, I want to encourage you to take some time after this episode to reflect on your own relationships. Ask yourself, do I feel emotionally safe with the people closest to me? Am I creating an environment where they feel emotionally safe with me? Are there specific areas where I can grow, like being a better listener, respecting boundaries, or expressing my feelings more openly? Remember, being emotionally safe is a journey, not a one time effort. The more intentional you are about it, the stronger your relationships will be. I'd like to have you leave you with this thought from Dr. Breen Brown, who said, vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, and courage, empathy, and creativity. It is the source of hope, empathy, accountability, and authenticity. Emotional safety is what allows vulnerability to flourish. And when we create that space in our relationships, we're not just building connections, we're building a foundation for all the things that make life meaningful. So, thank you for joining me on Safe Haven. I hope that this episode has inspired you to think about the role of emotional safety in your relationships and take steps to nurture it. Don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with someone who might need to hear it. So until next time, take care of yourself and your relationships. You deserve to feel safe, loved, and connected. Now, one of the things I do want to talk about is this, because I feel that for many of us, we don't always have strong relationships because it's all based on the fact of growing up in the home. If you have a family that is very loving, very supportive, very encouraging, then that is going to help you to feel emotionally safe. And then you're going to look for a relationship where you feel emotionally safe. But often, if someone comes from a toxic family, their comfort zone is to be in a toxic relationship. And that toxic relationship creates another toxic relationship. And I'm going to give you a little story that really helps you connect with this. And I realized that my grandparents came from Europe, and they were born in the 19th century. And what people knew then, and you had environments where the father went to work, he was the breadwinner, he was the decision maker, and the children did whatever he wanted to. And back then, you didn't have equal relationships, and they didn't really understand what love and emotional support really were and how to connect with each other. And it really didn't start changing to the middle of the 20th century. And what happened at that time was we were moving out of the conservative uh, time where everything was based on a structured type of way of life, and a little bit more open, and people were able to express their feelings and their opinions. And today what we're seeing is that both men and women understand that you have to create an equal relationship where each person is giving something to that relationship, that it's not the structured role, because women didn't go to work and they really didn't start working outside the home until World War II. And what I'm going to do is go back and give you a story that I've given and said many times. And in telling the story, someone said to me, you just gave a synopsis of each generation. And if you look at it this way, when the Europeans first started coming to America, they brought with them their type of, the word I'm trying to think of is this, that they brought with them their skills, that many of them in Europe went, because they lived in the small towns, went business to business to business. What you start seeing was that instead of going from business to business, they started opening up or setting up the street corners, the vendors, the push carts, and they were the small business owners. And they brought their skills with them, and they started selling things from the street corners. Then eventually that was the beginning of the growth of the corporate environment. And the parents went to work for the corporation. They worked their way up into management, and they got their 25-year retirement gold watch. The next generation, which was known as the baby boomer generation, followed their parents into the corporate world, but that was the era of the mergers. And you started seeing 2 or 3 people holding the same job. So that's when the corporation started offering buyout packages. It was also the beginning of the smaller solopreneur or entrepreneur. And today, a corporation doesn't even offer buyout packages when they start cutting back. They just cut back. But what we've seen is that more and more, with the growth of the internet, you see more remote work. With the growth of the software as a service or SaaS entrepreneur or SaaS reseller, that it's totally changed. And now you're seeing more about, instead of you go to work as a sales person in a department store, you're more of an affiliate with a company, and you're helping them market and selling their products and earning a percentage. Well, the reason I'm going into this is that we're talking about emotional safety. And if you look at the 60s and the outgrowth of transactional analysis and psychodrama, and today what's known as the laws of attraction, that what we're seeing is that when you had that structured environment of the men going to work, the women staying home and taking care of the family and cleaning the house and cooking and taking care of things, those days are gone. And we have to look at it in a different way now. And often what you saw was parents who could not live out their dreams. They used their children to live their dreams. And then when the children get older and they wanted to express themselves, well, or they had a totally different interest, that what you were seeing was a group of people who were in conflict. And now understanding behavior patterns, and I use the disc. And last week I talked about the different styles of communication. And you've got that D personality who likes to control everything. And then you've got that high person with that high interpersonal skills that can easily make deals at parties. Well, the D and the I, if it's 2 different people, they're going to be in conflict with each other. Then you've got that steadiness personality, and they're the introvert, they're the reserved person. They don't want to create waves. And therefore, what you're seeing is someone that has strong interpersonal skills and someone who's very reserved. They work very well together because they're very supportive of each other and each other's roles and needs. And understanding where that comes, that helps create the emotional safety net for someone who's always in conflict with another family member because their behavior pattern and both of their behavior patterns are to be in conflict with each other, especially when one person wants to go out and live their dream and the other person is not allowing them to do it. Then they've got someone that's supporting them and helping them literally do and follow their own dreams. And creating a safe haven is being able to be supportive, and also that as a parent, you see your child growing up, you've got to give them more and more responsibility because you've got to help them get to the point where when you're not around, they will no longer be they will be able to take care of themselves. And I can give you an example of a situation with someone who is totally lost today because she had a parent who was very toxic, very abusive, and very negative. And she thought because she had the steadiness personality that didn't want to create conflict, and because she was also someone who was always shuttled off to a different state and a different city to go to school because she had a disability, and where she grew up, they did not offer with within the city she lived the same type of education that she could get by going off to school. And she lived in the school during the week and would go home on weekends. Well, she never really had a home to go to because she had different aunts, she had different uncles, she had a grandmother, and those environments were very negative, reinforcing all the other things. Plus, they refused to allow her to interact with people because, God forbid, she should spend money. And so she had very warped type of understanding. And then once she finished school and you didn't quite at that point have the laws that you have today that would have helped her to get into the workplace, into a job that she really enjoyed. And she would have been very active because when she entered the workforce, it was data processing, but it was also the beginning of the coding for what today is software development. Back when it was called DOS, early on, and instead of having a mother that wanted her to be independent, she was doing everything against what was being offered. And then she would constantly be telling her daughter how she couldn't take care of herself, she couldn't live on her own, she couldn't think, she couldn't make decisions, and then would scream and yell at her and make her, because all she really wanted was someone that was to keep her company so that she didn't have to go out and be alone in her old age. Not, and when I would say, what is going to happen to her? Oh, she can take care of herself. Well, that's fine, but she's been alone for 13 years, and she tells them she sleeps during the day because she doesn't know what else to do. And then they gave her sleeping pills, and then she overtakes and over medicates herself. And then she ends up in a situation where she's got someone that comes in that doesn't know what she does, and then has to take her to the hospital because she couldn't get her up. And it's just such a vicious cycle that what we have to understand today It's all about how we create an environment of emotional safety, how we learn to teach and respect each other's feelings and emotions and take care of each other's financial needs when they're needed, because you never know when you're going to have someone that needs your help, or that you're going to need their help. And if you've alienated them by being emotionally abusive or physically abusive, how can you expect them to come to you when you're needed, when you need their help?